So the NHS deal has not been announced yet for Palantir, but today has been one of the most exciting days in the world of Palantir. And that's for a couple of different reasons. I want to talk about the NHS update and what's going on with the NHS. September 28th was supposed to be the day we were getting an answer. We have not gotten an answer yet. And it is September 28th at the time of recording this. But we did get another deal today, which was not for 600 million, but it was for 60 million. And we got to talk about that. And then on top of that, outside of just that $60 million deal, we have a really interesting new update. I mean, you talk about drama in the world of Palantir. Foxglove has quit social media. Who is Foxglove? We're going to get all into that in this video. But first, let me go to this. This was the procurement phase on the NHS's website. As you can see, January 10th, they were beginning the process, the tender bid for the federated data platform that will be worth an estimated £480 million, $611 million. Very big deal and very big contract. And right here, 28th September 2023, that's when it was supposed to be announced that Palantir, or whoever was going to win the contract, would be winning the contract on January 28th, September 2023. It is the day, and we do not have an update on that contract. Now, as I say, we don't have an update on that contract. If you looked at Palantir's stock, you might feel like we have an update on the deal, even though we don't have an update on the deal. $15.82, 20 cents away from $16, up 6.5% on the day. Yesterday, it was up 6.38%, so up 12% in a matter of 2 days. I see that the whole market is green behind me. If you look to the left-hand side of my screen, S&P 500 at 429, NASDAQ 13,247. Bond yields are rising today, so it's kind of weird that the macro is rising. I think the market's kind of just like, you know what, we don't care about bonds anymore. We want to buy equities because equities are cheap and there's a lot of money on the sideline coming in. Doesn't mean we don't have more downside to go, but it does mean that people are buying stocks. I kind of want to say the 12% in 2 days is a little bit macro, but it also feels like someone knows something. And as a result of them knowing something, they might be buying Palantir stock. I do not think the NHS deal is a gamble you want to play on Palantir stock because the news could sell off. They could pump. We have no idea what could happen. So I wouldn't at all think of the stock as a proxy to the deal and think of it as like an investment opportunity. The NHS opportunity that I've talked about many times is very good for long-term shareholders for a variety of reasons. But the stock is up 12%, and maybe someone knows something, or maybe it's the macro. 12% in 2 days, not bad at all for Palantir. Now, this is what we got, and this was tweeted by @PalantirChad. Definitely recommend following them on Twitter. National Institute of Health, $60.9 million deal we got today. As you can see, it was signed September 27th. That was yesterday. September 26th is when the date ends. It starts September 28th, 2023. So 2023 to 2026, 3-year deal, $60.9 million from the National Institute of Health. And that National Institute of Health is going to be worth $60 million for Palantir. So it's a 3-year deal. Basically $21 million a year for the next 3 years. And this comes after the $250 million contract we just got 2 days ago. So we got a $250 million contract, 3 years, $83 million a year to do R&D for AI and machine learning. That's crazy. Then we get a $60.9 million deal from the NIH, which is not the NHS. The NIH is the National Institute of Health, which is similar to the NHS, except the NHS is a whole socialized healthcare system. The NIH is just one subsidiary of the US government focusing on health. So it's been a wild morning in terms of the deals Palantir has been getting and the deals we haven't been getting in terms of official announcements. But nothing compares to the next piece of news that I'm about to show you, which is a little bit more wild than everything we talked about so far. And not to mention Sham Sankar, Kathy Wood just dropped a podcast. I'll be uploading my reaction to that in a little bit. Here we go. This is what Foxglove tweeted out today, why we're leaving social media. Now, before I read this, who is Foxglove? Foxglove is a media organization in the UK, a nonprofit that essentially has made it their mission to fight for the UK people and the citizens of the UK and make sure that they protect them against the big evil tech companies. They are funded by George Soros. He is one of the investors in terms of the conglomerate of media groups that are part of it. George Soros, an early investor in Palantir. He hates Donald Trump. He didn't like that Peter Thiel, who's a co-founder of Palantir, supported Donald Trump in 2016. And at the DPO, he dumped all of his shares. So originally supported the company, dumped his shares after realizing that he did not agree with the political values of some of the founders of the company. And people have, realized that a lot of his funding goes to some of these media organizations that are head fast on like trying to protect democracy. And it's like, it's so, I don't even know what the word for it is, because Palantir is one of those companies that's actually maintaining democracy. This is why they're in Ukraine. This is why the government trusts them. This is why they actually care about Western values. This is why they don't work in Russia and China and give their high ticket, high tech software that they could be making billions of dollars from the Russian and Chinese. That's why they don't give it to them, because they actually care about protecting NATO countries and all these different things. And they're one of the companies that stood up to the United States and say, hey, you have a contract, we'll take it if Google, Amazon aren't going to take it, because we're not going to be apolitical. We're going to trust and align ourselves with Western values. So to say that, they're trying to hurt democracy is funny, but Foxglove has been one of those organizations. Here's there's many articles. Here's just one I pulled up. Don't hand NHS patient data to Palantir. And so they go into a bunch of email campaigns to like opt out of the NHS, opt out of patient data, basically sign up your email to tell the NHS why you hate Palantir, all that stuff. This is one of many different articles they have put out. You can see how they worded here. Worryingly, US spy tech corporation Palantir is highly likely to be the preferred bidder for the NHS contract. A huge threat to public trust in the health service. This is wrong. It's blatantly false. Doesn't make any sense. Unwarranted. Salacious at best in terms of the claims they're trying to put out there. But they've been able to put it out there. And I'm sure they've convinced a lot of people in the UK that Palantir is some evil company. Why is today so important? Because they're quitting social media. So let's read a little bit about this, and then I'm going to give some analysis. They say there's always a fine line to walk using social media as a nonprofit who, as a core part of its work, fights the exploitation and monopoly power of the world's most powerful social media companies. You're never far from a hot take from the internet's finest keyboard warriors, so you sue Facebook, but you also use Facebook. Interesting. Which, by the way, is a pretty damn good argument if you're going to sue Facebook. Like, why are you still using Facebook? But our principle has been that as long as social media remains an effective and coherent form of communication, we should use it to inform and explain our work to supporters, partners, and journalists, and hopefully have fun along the way. Okay. By the same token, we felt it made sense to engage only with the most influential social media, Facebook and Twitter, respectively. We have now made the decision that the services offered by these social media platforms are so degraded, it is no longer an efficient use of our limited resources to engage with them. So, apparently it costs way too much money to press tweet. That is what Foxglove is trying to say today. We don't do this lightly, but Foxglove has a responsibility to our amazing supporters and funders to spend every penny soundly and in a way where we can measure its worth. We don't think that's the case right now. So apparently them spending, I don't know how many pennies to tweet is like a waste of their money. Okay. This is not a blanket statement that Foxglove shall never tweet again. So basically they're saying we're probably going to come back because we're going to realize we need distribution from somewhere, and it's probably on Twitter. For our first 4 years, we have enjoyed using social media to talk to our supporters and friends. Should a time come when social media seems worth engaging with a way that is useful, we will see you back out there. But for now, we are calling time on Foxglove social media's channels, and then they want you to sign up to their email list as the best way to reach them. Look, a couple problems with these claims, and then I'll give my take on what this means for the NHS deal. Number one, Twitter, Facebook have billions of users. If you want cost-effective, in their words, distribution, it's not going to be on TV. It's not going to be on radio. It's going to be on social media. You can tweet anything, and it finds an audience. You can tweet about fitness. It will find an audience. These are the best algorithms in the world. You can tweet about stocks. You can tweet about investing. You can tweet about, breakfast meals that are healthy. Anything you tweet about, these algorithms find a way to find an audience because they have so many users and so much content that they can amalgamate all these different ideas. And then boom, you can have a potential to build an audience. So if you hate Palantir and you tweet about how much you hate Palantir, guess what? Twitter will find all the people that don't like Palantir. They want to protect democracy and all this stuff, and they will find you an audience. The idea that somehow these platforms are ineffective or are censoring your message, which is absolutely insane given Elon bought Twitter, and there was much more censorship before Elon. Even if there is censorship now, it's not like they're targeting some of these agencies or some of these left-wing, like everyone can really tweet outside of if, you're in a political part of Germany or Turkey or India where the states are cracking down. Like Elon can't do anything about that. But for the vast majority of people, you can tweet and the algorithms will find your audience. And it's been highly effective for organizations like Foxglove for a long time because they've been able to find an audience that is agreed with their message, particularly around Palantir being bad. So this whole cost-effective argument is BS. It makes absolutely no sense. The other argument they're saying is that the platforms have degraded. No, the platforms have only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So I don't understand how the platforms have been degraded. And then their argument that we need a coherent form of communication and we're working on other mediums because social media is not the case. I don't know how radio or television is a better form of communication for the mass markets than something that has billions of people in one place that can get you discovered. Even if you spend a couple bucks on advertising, you can get more discovered on some of those platforms. So those arguments don't make a lot of sense. What's the real thing that's going on here. If you put the tinfoil hat on, and I don't know if this is a big stretch, but this is kind of the thesis I'm coming up with this morning. This is what I thought. Foxglove hates Palantir. They've been campaigning for, honestly, years at this point. It's been since like early 2022 that the NHS should not give this deal to Palantir. If they found out that Palantir got the NHS deal, maybe they're just tired of social media. Maybe they're just like, you know what? We don't have any legs to stand on. We don't want to tweet anymore. We don't want to keep fighting this campaign that we can't win, because if Palantir got the deal, they lost. You know that Walter White meme from Breaking Bad? I won, when he's on the phone with his wife? Yeah, that's what happened if you lost. Palantir won, you lost. Bye-bye. All that campaign nonsense, all that political stuff you were saying, no one cares. The average citizens of the UK doesn't care. People want better wait times, faster wait times, less backlogs in the NHS. No one gives a shit about all this political nonsense you've been spewing out because of your ideological agendas. So if that's the case, maybe you don't come back to social media because you can't stand on any legs, because you have no legs to stand on your messaging and your ideology, because your ideology has gone to shit. If the UK government said, nope, we're going to give $611 million to those guys that you've been saying is the most evil company in the world. At some point, there's a winner and loser, and at some point, logic beats irrationality, no matter how much you try to propagandize that irrationality. And so even though the NHS contract has not been announced yet, there might be an argument that Palantir has won the contract. Foxglove knows they won the contract. They figured out because they're in the UK. And as a result of that, they just don't feel like being on social media anymore. Another argument could be that George Soros is cutting off funding for these organizations, because I don't know why he would cut off funding, but maybe he's cutting off funding and they don't have the resources to, I guess, use Twitter or Facebook anymore. I don't know how that costs that much money, but like maybe that's the reason. And so that could be another reason for why they're getting off social media. The point is, this is really interesting because on the day of the announcement, the timing of this is important. I know the NHS announcement hasn't been made yet, and governments are inefficient. Maybe it'll come out in weeks, maybe it'll come out in a couple months, maybe it's delayed, maybe it'll come out in the next couple hours. But the fact that Foxglove, on the day of the supposed announcement, decides to say, we're done with social media. It's almost like throwing in the towel, because it's going to be announced soon. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's in a week. And once it's announced, you don't want to have to deal with social media and like come back to the platform where all your supporters that were championing around this idea of big bad Palantir, they're going to be saying, hey, what happened? Why, like, is this narrative true? Have you been just bullshitting us for the past 2 years? Or like, what's going on? Maybe they don't want to deal with the heat. And I understand. Sometimes it happens. But that might be my, hypothetical thesis for why Foxglove is leaving social media. Overall, I think it's net good. I mean, look, you can be on social media all you want, but if you're going to spew nonsense, it's probably better that you're not spewing that same nonsense anymore. And either they don't have the money for it, or they realize that their nonsense actually is not profitable for their goals because Palantir got the deal, and that means that, there's nothing left to say. There's just nothing left to say anymore. That's it. Sometimes there's just nothing left to say. That's it. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Corey Kreider is on the thumbnail. She's the head of that Foxglove organization. If you didn't know who she is, she's been the main one campaigning against Palantir. Maybe she has nothing left to say. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one.